So I think we will call this meeting to order. I'd like to recognize the public in its entirety, because that's a lot of people.
Did everybody sign in?
Yes, if you haven't had a chance to sign in, please do.
Is there, oh, yeah, carry on.
And actually, before I launch into the regular agenda for the evening, I wanted to say that this select board meeting marks Kathy Buckley's official return to the position of town administrator, and I thought it was important to mark the occasion appropriately. So I wanted to tell you how pleased we are to have you back.
Good to be back.
We have a couple things for you, but they're not flowering plants. One is that you said you felt like you were walking back into an old slippers.
Would you like me to open these now?
It'll be a little embarrassing.
They're big.
They are. They're big shoes.
I don't know if I can do that. Thank you.
And also, when Katie left in 2014 for a position at the Windsor Housing Trust, Verandah Porche wrote to us from Greece a praise song for Katie. So tonight we have the unique honor of welcoming Verandah in person to share with us something new for Katie. So if you'd like
where
to,
should I go?
you should stand up and
Just right where you are is great,
you'll be
Brandon.
fine right there,
Oh, right here?
wherever you want.
Oh, I want to be able to see Katie. I mean, honestly. Okay. I guess if you'll indulge me, I have to read the old one as well. So this was the farewell one. From the cradle of democracy, across the waves, let me wing this praise for Kathy Buckley, a worker bee in the fields of freedom and unity. Kathy Buckley, whose gifts lifted our spirits when our town was down on luck like the water of Sweet Pond. Kathy Buckley, a feisty visionary fighting Irish, laughter, stamina, untamed as her lavish mane. Kathy Buckley, tender friend who will weed your woes or ease you from surgery, whose heart pumps out renewable energy. Katie, who shuns the limelight, spreadsheets, cookie sheets, her mind is lively in the dead of night. Katie Buckley jogs our creativity, a corner store, a bridge, a village. An impasse yields an opportunity. She goes for nuts and bolts. See how her love improves us. So that was the old one. You get out your hanky. Okay, here's the new one. Okay, praise song number 2. With trumpeting winds and snapping limbs, a fanfare for someone rare as a January rainbow, fine as farewell turning back to welcome home. Hail to Kathy Buckley, the friend whose gaze hastens the thaw, the one who is sure-footed in the wilds of regulation, tooth and claw. Kathy Buckley, wiser from years of building nests for the housing trust, where they loved her grasp of numbers, timbers, justice. Mother, daughter, steadfast nurturer, and keeper of our history. Let wintry mix be slippery as bureaucracy. Luckily, we'll stick with Kathy Buckley.
Thank you. I didn't expect just as I didn't expect it on my departure, Verandah, I didn't expect it on my return. I'm really happy to be back working for the town. I live here, I love here, I'm passionate here. I'm psyched to be working with you all again. You're awesome. We have a great community. We do a lot of work with very little, and I love being part of that. So, thank you. Thank you.
So, does anybody else have anything they'd like to say this evening about our new town administrator? Shall we get on with the business? On with the business. Are there additions to the agenda this
I
evening?
have two.
Sir,
One has been a suggestion from the league for years that we put a public comment on the agenda each meeting. If we don't have, we have used it before, but not very
We
often.
haven't talked about that before.
And the other one is to revisit the emergency management director's position. We're making a serious mistake, and I can bring that to light fairly easy.
sorry, the first one is you'd like to discuss the league of
The
voters?
league has suggested from time to time, from the meetings I've been to, that a public comment portion of the agenda.
Okay, and revisit, we just went through the budget, but maybe we should save the EMD thing for the Thursday morning budget meeting, the workshop?
I want to bring it up as it's old business, basically.
Okay, approval of the minutes?
So moved?
Sorry, there are changes to the agenda order.
Oh.
None. I'm looking for approval of the minutes of December 28th.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we were gonna talk about the Belogour Campground, but I'm thinking there's nobody here to talk about that tonight. And,
So what,
you know, I'm sorry,
it was on the agenda because of,
They were on the 28th agenda, and because it was also a budget work session that night, we deferred them to this agenda. And I got an email from her today indicating that they would not be here, so
oh, okay.
it will get moved to a,
And it's just a project update, that's the only,
yeah.
Sure.
okay, thank you.
I wanted to get back to changes to the agenda order. Danny, did you want us to talk about highway before?
No, you guys go through, I'll sit
Okay.
through
All right, thank you. Dan, you're on for solar project update.
Sure. Just a follow-up on information about what's happening with the different solar projects, and I'll start from large and go down to small. The largest one by far is the solid waste district. They're looking to do a PV project close to a 5 megawatt in size. You should note that the interconnect application has gone in for that. The certificate of public good will not go into probably later this year, but that project is moving surely forward. And for that project, they're looking for the 19-member towns, for the municipalities themselves, for whether it's the town garage, whether it's the municipal building, or the schools, to be able to join that. And when you do that, what they're looking for is no money, but for a long-term commitment, and it's actually a savings per month is how it would be structured. So the good news is it's a savings per month. Bad news is you've got to lock up for 15 to 25 years for that contract. But that's moving forward, and that's the largest one. In the other part, sure.
Did you say there was no paperwork submitted on that yet? We have no
There
nothing to
is
look at?
no certificate of public good application in on that.
And
yet.
no draft
So that's why
proposals?
you have seen nothing. Green Mountain Power, they've gotten the interconnection application information. But other than that, it's waiting for the certificate of public good.
And would this come out before the budget goes to warning?
I would say, right now, yeah, I would say that there is a possibility that the certificate of public good application will come out before March.
But
It's
not
been
before the-
moving way too slow, but, you know, they're looking to have it happen in 2016. Both the solid waste district and the development company. So that's the largest one. Then, more locally, we've got the different solar projects under net metering. In Guilford, we have 3 500 kW projects. So one is a project on Kirshheimer Drive, and that's Sovereign is doing that one. And their interconnection application actually went in July. They're still putting together a certificate of public good application. 2 projects I'm involved with, the Blanchard Hill and the John Sites Drive. The interconnection applications did go in. We already have a certificate of public good for Blanchard Hill, and actually construction is starting on that one. And for John Sites Drive, we expect the certificate of public good probably this month. They typically announce them on Wednesdays. So I think either this Wednesday or next Wednesday we'll probably get the certificate of public good. But I'll tell you right now, for these larger projects, that'll probably be it. And the reason is, Green Mountain Power has met their cap, their net metering cap. And they met that on the 13th of November. So since the 13th of November, they've actually rejected 77 applications throughout the state of Vermont
Wow.
for projects larger than 15 kW.
Huh?
Yep. So anyhow, the idea of having more of these projects come into a place like Guilford, not going to happen. They're looking at redoing the net metering program in 2017, but I'd be very surprised if they're going to do any more of these larger projects. There has been so much negative feelings about developers, bad developers basically out there, running roughshod over local communities. Especially on the western part of the state, in the Rutland County up to Addison and Chittenden County, there have been real problems up there. So anyhow, those larger projects, you'll have the three of them. Between the three of them, you're probably looking at a tax revenue to the town of about $7,000 a year total between them. And I think it's a good thing for the town because it's basically getting town revenue from groups that have no need for public services. So they don't send kids to school. They don't need roads. It's nice income to have on a yearly basis. With that, for the smaller projects, you should know the Franklin Farm, which is a 40 kW farm for the farm itself. That application did get in. It came in before the deadline, before they canceled that. So that possibility is also going to happen for that small system for the Franklin Farm. The other thing that's happening is because they have met the net metering cap, any projects greater than 15 kW, like I said, is being rejected. But it doesn't mean that those homeowners or small businesses that want to do a 15 kW or smaller project, they can still go in. And even today, Green Mountain Power is still accepting them, and it looks like they are. So the rules have kind of changed in the last few months because of the net metering cap being found. Relative to Guilford and the idea about the town garage getting a grant from Green Mountain Power and actually using the rest of the fire station for
Right.
that, I would say that grant is no longer a possibility, especially because of the net metering cap. I'd be very surprised if anything happens there. But that being said, with the solid waste district, if that project goes through, and I expect it to go through, there'll be an opportunity for the town garage, if not the school, not the municipal facilities, to be able to partake of that. So that's what's going on, some changes. It looked like we were going to have a lot of activity here in Guilford. We did have some activity, but it's going to dampen down quite a bit now.
Are there any questions, comments?
Dan, is the net metering cap met because of the sheer number of projects that are done statewide, or is there a cap for this part of the state?
It's for Green Mountain, each utility in Vermont, and it's 15% of their peak load. So for Green Mountain Power, their traditional peak load since they took over CVPS is about 820 megawatts.
Statewide, we're talking.
Statewide for Green Mountain Power. So it meant that they were mandated by state legislation to take as much as 15% of that cap, which is about 123 megawatts. Now, we all know when solar produces, it only produces for so many hours of the day. But this is how they set it up. What's the overall capacity? And quite honestly, there are a lot of these 500 kW systems that went in places like Fairhaven, Vermont. They got overloaded with them. They had nice flat land, good connection to three-phase power. They got inundated with a lot of these projects. I was shocked by the number of them coming in. But no, they like I said, on November 13th, they hit it. It was pretty dramatic. And there are a lot of the 500 kWs that totally got rejected.
Wow.
11 megawatts worth.
Thank you
All right, thank you.
very much. Dick, you said that you wanted to talk about the EMD part of the budget
Yes.
workshop in old business. I have a couple comments about that. One is we've just finished an hour-and-a-half session on the budget that was warned. This is not Secondly, we agreed at the end of the budget meeting last Thursday, I think it was, that I would speak with Ron, and I have not spoken with him. And so I'd like to give him the courtesy of doing that before we have a public discussion. Therefore, I would like a motion, I would entertain a motion that says we table this until Thursday morning when we have our next budget workshop, because I think this is an appropriate time to do it.
Would it be appropriate for Ron to be at that discussion?
Absolutely.
If you wanted to have him?
I want to make it quite plain to the public that we as a select board are totally unaware that 3 years ago, emergency management veered totally away from VY and went to all hazards. And in a situation where we have an ice storm, the wind is down, we get people freezing, no EMD, what are you gonna do? The town crew is busy, the fire department's busy, what are you gonna do, Madam Chair?
I'm not going to answer that question now.
But it's on your shoulders.
It is.
And I would like you to look at the responsibility of a select board
Yep.
and go
And
from
that
there.
is exactly the purpose of having the conversation with Ron.
Well,
So I think that, I mean, I think when we discussed this at our last budget meeting, and you were gonna talk to Ron, I think it makes sense to have Ron. If he can be there on Thursday morning, it'd be great for him.
Great, thank you.
I think it's a very important position that we should keep.
Well, I think that there was nobody arguing against the position, it was just against the funding of the position as it was. I mean, I don't think we were talking about getting rid of the emergency management
It's
director.
required by law that
We
every town.
have
I don't see it on the budget sheet.
Oh, I think we have to have an emergency management director. We were just talking about.
It doesn't matter if it's in the budget or not. I mean,
It's
you've had a
mandated by the
delinquent
state.
tax collector, but that hasn't been in the budget. So I mean, it's,
But even with an emergency management director, with or without, you, Madam Chair, have serious
Dick,
responsibilities.
you were
in that-
saying we need to have an emergency management
We do.
director. And I think we do, and I think, as Katie said, we're required to by statute.
yeah,
I don't think
every
anybody's
town
talking
has
about
to have
getting rid of that. I think the question was, we were I know you want to talk about this Thursday, presented with a $17,000 budget. We compared to other towns, we felt that that was not something that made sense for us, given the change in BY.
I agree to that, but the remark that was made that, well, we can just appoint somebody to be emergency management director is not a true statement.
Well, let's talk about it with Ron, who's done a great job and gotten up to speed. I think the question was the money, but let's, I think it makes sense. It's a
We were
budget
talking
question.
budget,
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
position.
Is there
Yeah.
gonna be a motion?
I'd make a motion to table this discussion until Thursday morning. have
That's what I
Ron
need to say.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And maybe now's a good time also just to remind everyone that we warned all of our budget meetings and anyone's welcome to come to them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What time is it Thursday?
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Bring coffee.
That's why nobody comes.
That's the only one we're having at 7 a.m.
I was previously engaged
The,
this afternoon, so I couldn't be here.
The next item on the agenda is to talk about the snowmobile travel on town highways. Mike, you wanted to address that?
Thank you. We're looking to get permission to access from Stage Road between addresses of approximately 228 and address 422, where we'd be interconnecting from trail to trail, which is approximately 792 feet. I don't know how exact you want anything, but
can you just repeat those addresses again? I'm sorry.
yep, 228
Great.
and 422. It's around those, one before, one a little after, but those are two addresses you go.
Thank you.
That would just be an interconnect onto each snowmobile trail. And also, I don't know if you want to do these two separate items, but there's two places. Sweets Pond Road between address 2336, which would then lead to Abijah Prince, and down Abijah Prince to address 754, where we'd interconnect onto the trail there, which is a total of 0.2 miles approximately on Sweets Pond Road and 0.7 miles approximately on Abijah Prince. And the main reason is we had a trail closure that limits us to just being able to cross the road. So now we need to gain access to interconnect between the two trails by using the town road. It's not uncommon, a lot of trails around the state do that.
So they go, are you going on the road or beside, don't they usually go kind of beside the road?
Well, we always try to be beside the road on the shoulder when possible, because dirt roads and snowmobiles don't mix.
Right.
So, the best bet is to ride the shoulder as much as
Sure.
they can,
Yeah.
and then get on trail as quick as possible. All the same laws have to be followed as a car. They have to be on the same side of the road as a vehicle. All the snowmobiles are registered TM8, supposed to be registered TM8 and insured.
There's actually a whole bunch of statutes surrounding.
There is all
Yeah.
kinds of them.
Yeah, they have to be
You guys-
registered, insured, they have to go to safety classes, there's a
Yep.
whole,
Yep,
and they have to follow the rules of the road.
correct.
You guys take care of doing the posting?
We would do all the posting for caution signs or whatever Danny would recommend that we need for it.
Actually, the state has a requirement.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know that they don't, I don't know if they have a requirement
It's
about
in
the
the
language
VAS
of the
handbook,
signs.
like-
Well, we have our own, but on
Yeah.
top of that, Danny's
Yeah.
We've
requirements
always
would
marked
be
the trail.
Yeah.
extra.
I mean, right.
You guys are all-
It's like crossings, I mean, there's
Yep.
nothing, 20 years ago, we used to come down from the top of Melody Hill. That's how we used to get to the top above Tucky Houghton's, all the way down to the bottom of Melody Hill to get on the trail down through there as you ride down the road.
Right.
And you followed all the signs and everything like that on the road.
And we've done a bunch of new signs this year. Probably a lot of you can't see them, but we have all new vast signs that we had made, aluminum signs. All the roads now that, like Danny said, we have stop signs that are posted at every road. And this year, every road one has of what road you're crossing.
Right.
So it's always kind of an issue if there was an emergency and somebody wasn't from here, they don't know what road they're on. So now each stop sign has a tag of what road you're at. And all the trails have been GPSed this last year, so they're all
So I'd make
coordinates.
a motion to approve the request by the Pitstoppers for snowmobile travels on the town highways, Abijah Prince Road, and was it Sweet Pond was the other one? Sweet
Yes.
Pond, as you enumerated where they would be, given your, working with the road commissioner in terms of signage necessary.
Okay.
And thank you for coming to us.
And also Stage Road. just-
Stage
Oh, Stage Road, thanks, I knew there was one more.
And is it sufficient for us to just make this motion, or do we have to have a policy? Because it says, a snowmobile, according to the statute, a snowmobile shall not be operated on a public highway unless the highway has been open to snowmobile traffic by the selectmen and is so posted by the municipality.
That's what we're talking about. I think-
And so that's.
So I don't think that requires a policy, that's just my reading of it.
I can follow up to make sure we follow all the appropriate stuff, but you've given the approval
Right.
at this point to,
So, I have just two questions. Who, is the town liable for anything that happens on town roads?
No, that's
Is
why
it
you're,
insured?
that's why you have insurance and everything on, and you go through the safety snowmobile course. Now,
no
it
different from a
never,
motor vehicle.
it used to be you didn't have to go through the course.
And so posted by the municipalities, does that mean that Guilford bears the cost of signage?
The club will bear
Yeah.
the cost of any signage. We have all of our own signs.
Right.
The club does a very good job
Yeah.
marking everything, so I mean,
Amazing work.
Yeah.
they do a good
And a
job.
lot of our people here use the trails to walk and ski, and these guys have done an amazing job with
Cleaning them up this
cleaning them up,
Wow.
so I highly
incredible.
suggest you support them.
Great.
And state police do patrol the trails.
And the game wardens, yeah,
They do.
they do.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay. So I think the listers.
You can bring
That's
that
my-
thing to the shop tomorrow,
Maybe.
call me.
Are interested in filing, having approval for a 30-day extension approval for the listers to
That's
file
the
their
grand list.
411.
Yep, the 411, it's a report that they file every year by December 31st, and they're asking, basically there was an error on the state's part, and they're granting all of them a 30-day extension, but for them to apply for it, the select board has to approve the request for it, so it's really just a
Formality.
formality that we,
I'll
so-
move that we approve the 30-day extension for filing the annual 411.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sports Sports and Recreation Committee, petition and creation of a new town committee. Wendy or Eric, are you? Hi there.
Should we come up or?
Sure.
I'm not sure exactly where to begin on where we're at.
Well, I can sort of preface it if you want, that you had sent an email, that there's a petition currently for an article to be added to the town meeting warning, and the email was sent asking for the town to create a committee of sports, to ask the committee that's referenced in the petition. Is that sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're using the language that you had suggested. We're trying to allocate funds and start a committee. I guess that's two things. So, and ideally, that was the compromise, I suppose, of where we had begun. We wanted to hire, we suggested is that the town would just hire a part-time employee and then set aside funds for this person. That seemed like the easiest thing, but then there was debate about it being either complicated or maybe we were trying to bring in other entities in town. So the rec club, we contacted, I don't know that Mike has said, we called Mike and left a message, talked to Cindy again last Tuesday.
I wonder if Mike's still outside. I see somebody out there. Let me just check and see if he's there.
Yeah.
I
think the two gentlemen are just talking.
They're just, they must be right there.
Is Mike still out there?
Thank you.
Is it just information about? Just the town report.
Sorry. We were just, Eric was talking about the recreation committee, and I knew you had been on the Guilford Recreation Club, and so I thought, oh, is Mike still here? Maybe he could join this discussion. So go ahead.
So, okay, we were just, didn't know if we had, if you had information about who we could contact,
For the rec club?
Yeah.
Lee Brunswick was the head of it last I knew.
Okay.
He would be the one I would recommend you contact.
I see.
And he's in poor health right now.
Right.
The question I had, Mike, and the reason I sort of dragged you back in here was, it seemed like we have a vehicle in town, being the rec club, which is kind of dormant right now, as you said, it's a long time ago. But it seemed like a logical, it's a 501c3, it's a, you know, it was a club. It seemed like a logical vehicle for what Eric and Wendy and Mike and Lisa and all the people were trying to do. And they were feeling, it seemed like you were kind of at a dead end with getting together with the rec club, is that true?
Right, we made contacts with Cindy Simons. Lee Brunswick was unavailable, spoke to his wife Sue. She asked us to speak with Dale, which we did. We left a message on your phone, weren't able to make a contact as you requested. And there's no current rec club that's functioning in a way that offers activities for the community. Dale mentioned they meet annually, and typically the people that are present are himself, his mother and father.
Because I just was curious, just as a person who's been involved with that, if that's something that feels like it could be, just as a vehicle for something like this, handed off, people who are currently at the head of it aren't really doing much with it right now. You know, we all remember the days when the Neros headed the whole thing up, and there was a lot going on with that. And it just seems, you know, I respect what Eric and Wendy are trying to do, but we have this mechanism here in town. It seemed like a logical vessel to hold this effort. That's all I'm saying.
I know Ryan Squires was pretty active in it lately, the past few years, talking with Lee about possibly taking it over. I don't know where that ever turned out to be, but he may be a contact for that also.
Do you know if there was any funds left in the?
If there is, I do not know how much.
Okay.
Dale said there was zero funds,
Okay.
and I did talk to him about it. It was probably a month ago now.
Okay, it just, sorry to drag you back in, I
No,
just
I'm
thought.
sorry, I don't know
No,
more
that's
about
good.
it.
Yeah,
We're just
yeah.
trying to connect the, dots here and
Right.
trying to make a
Okay.
plan moving
Thanks.
forward, yeah.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It does feel a little bit like it's Wendy and I and Michael and Lisa owning this. I wanted to kind of
I didn't mean owning it,
no,
spearheading.
it is,
of it.
and that's sort of what we're kind of trying to redefine the message here.
Mhm.
Was the action plan that was done. The action plan was on the town website. That was from,
Rural developmental meeting.
yeah, it was done, printed 2 years ago.
So,
In the back of this action plan, I don't know if you have, everyone's seen the book probably, but page 24, it talks about town forum notes, opportunities. It says improve or build a recreation department with a director to develop programs for adults and children year-round. And it also says need a budget line item to fund things like that. Look at how we're currently funding commissions. And that was an action plan that was put forward to, I believe, the Planning Commission, which brought that further along in discussion and came up with a town plan. Town plan is also on the website for the Guilford. Into the recreation section of the town plan in page 34 and 35, it talks about the vision, goals, discussions, and actions. Under actions, it says, the planning commission recommends the town appoint a recreation commission to include or take the place of the current recreation club, to plan for and inventory safe byways, publicize recreational resources, and monitor the impact, future rec facilities and usage of land, and blah, blah, blah. And then there's a list of what they see as important things that this commission and rec club and director could do. And the number 6 is the one that we're really focused on because of our recognized need to provide sports for the children, is where we started with this recreational events. The priority being K through 6, and then the second priority is the larger populace of town. So I guess, again, instead of us feeling like we're trying to get money for us or a group that we're trying to start or a nonprofit that we want to begin, it's really not what we're trying to do. What we really want is we're trying to just be the megaphone to show that we have lots of public support for this program, and we have a plan in place. In that we just want to move forward with it, and however we can do that as whatever makes sense as a town to do that.
So currently we have 83 signatures on our petition. We need a total of 85 by Thursday, so we're looking good for making that. Thanks to everyone that's been helpful in that way. We have a survey filled out by town residents, 88% of which checked off that they would like to see the town hire a part-time sports coordinator. If you'd like to see that survey result, we have those here. We've gone door to door. We've spoken to people at the Guilford Country Store. We've spoken to people at the Guilford school board meetings, and we are feeling overwhelming support for this from the Guilford residents, and I just want to make that clear that we are the voice for a larger body of people that would like to see this move forward.
Alice?
From the school portion, we do have $4,000, in total $3,000 for an AD position and $1,000 for equipment. Looking at this piece that you just gave me, we do have available at the school snowshoes for use for the community members. I would have to probably be used at the school or at least signed in, checked out, because they are a property of the school. So there's plenty of things that are already in place. It's a matter of taking upon, a group to coordinate, maybe a walk or whatever, hike on the wonderful trails that our Pitstoppers have groomed. So we do have that availability already, but I just wanted to reiterate, there is already currently $4,000 available in funds, so we're funding from the school part.
For this fiscal year 2016
Going
or
into
17?
Going into the budget.
Into the budget, so right here, so right now.
The budget we're working
Sorry,
on.
Eric.
I just want to remind them why the money is there, because there was $0 in there, and we brought it forward and we brought attention to it.
Yeah.
So I mean that's why the money is there.
That's, yeah.
So I guess there's a couple, I'm not sure what you're asking of us to do. I mean, do you want us to form a commission? Because like I would say, the planning commission, the conservation commission, all the commissions we have aren't necessarily paid positions.
I understand that when we don't want the commission to be paid.
Okay. Oh, wait, okay, so that's a so I
It's
thought you were
very
asking
confusing.
$4,000 for.
It got confusing. It wasn't supposed to be. The commission was supposed to be a volunteer commission. The $4,000 is to be matching with the $4,000 from the school to create a budget to pay a position of a coordinator.
Is that gonna be, so you're asking for $4,000 for down at the rec center? Down at the rec?
We're asking for a paid part-time position for a director.
Under which budget?
Under which budget?
Under both budgets.
4,000 from the school and
Both.
4,000 from the town.
Because ideally it would be, legally, it would be the town's ownership of this. But you would be subcontracted by the school. They would pay you $4,000. That's the way Vernon has theirs set up. They have a rec department and the school pays them to provide sports for the school. So it would be set up similar to that. It's just a way what we're trying to do is consolidate resources, consolidate funds to make it efficient, because we're trying to save as much money as possible. So if we had a way to do it in one place, we could be efficient. If we had $8,000, we could pay someone 16 hours a week at $10 an hour for 50 weeks.
But there's also payroll
I get
fees
that.
that go along with
And
that. So does
that's
that
where
include all of
developing
that?
a program is important. We want to have a fee for service.
Right, so I guess my question is, if the 8,000 is gonna go towards the coordinator, does the person actually get paid whatever the wage rate would be after you've accounted for all
I
of
mean,
the
I don't,
taxes?
I feel like for you all to figure out. I mean, I'm just a vehicle of a voice. I'm saying we need a sports program. Here's a potential solution. I don't understand like the law and the legal wording of how to make this work. And so that's where we're looking for guidance from you, I guess, but.
So from a guidance point of view, this is still, as we talked, I was at the school board meeting, we were talking about it, and I thought a lot of really good ideas came through from that. I'm glad you followed through and looked at the Vernon model. I have to say, personally, I feel like it makes more sense for this to be under the auspices of the school board, since most of the energy is around sports for kids, after school sports. So to me, that is a much more logical vehicle. And let me just
okay,
finish.
sorry.
Oh, thank you. When we, back in the 80s, there was a similar kind of Guilford community education effort, and it all happened under the auspices of the school. There was adult education classes at the school. That was all under the school's direction. Because of the nature of what you're really focusing on, and when you talked about the appalling situation of no sports for kids, that's been kind of the crux of the issue. Yes, some trails and some opportunities for all residents. I support the idea of this article going before the town and it being budgeted, and as I said on last Monday night, in a kind of a seed way, like let's get some money together if you want to hire a person. I want to point out, as Gabby mentioned, none of these other commissions have paid staff. And that's just a point I'm making, because you
We
just
don't-
need to be
yeah,
aware of that.
We don't want paid staff for the commission.
No, you want a paid rec coordinator.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where it's getting a little dicey. I think people are applauding this effort and 100% behind it. But as I said way back in 2013, when this idea first came up, I thought, this is great. I can't see the town absorbing a position of a rec coordinator on an ongoing basis. I'm sorry, but I struggle with the town budget absorbing that cost. I'm not sure we have those resources. I think an enrichment director or athletic director, all those things we brainstormed on Monday night might be a really good vehicle that could include sports as well as the after-school programming. Remember all those discussions? I'm not trying to put up obstacles here. I'm just trying to
It's the
brainstorm.
only place I feel like we get any obstacles, actually, but
Is where?
here.
Uh-huh.
We have
But I think you're
overwhelming.
asking the select board to add an employee to the town payroll.
Oh, I'm just asking,
Which
yeah,
is-
that's just
And
one.
that's a very complex
Yeah.
thing to do. In a structure, and there's no structure for us doing it, or there's no
You have-
possibility of accountability, knowing how this person fulfills their roles. But if it is somebody that the recreation club hires through its 501c3 status, you get the money, that's your
Yeah,
problem.
but it's not me. I don't want it.
You being the rec
I
club.
can't be a director. I don't have time. That's the point.
No, I don't mean you doing the job, the
who?
coordinator job.
Who though?
Whoever's on your committee, your recreation committee.
Just
You'd
four
have
of
to
us.
build one, you'd have
Yeah.
to build one.
We'd have to build what? I
A
mean, we're
committee.
struggling to get coaches right now. How are we gonna form a committee and coaches? I mean, we really are struggling. So, I mean, and it's not us, again, we're a voice for the populace. Every day we get more people that are supporting this. We have yet to meet one person that is against this, so.
And
I guess
mean,
It's part of the town action plan.
it's the part of the plan, and we're looking for someone to move forward on this. The plan's been in place for 2 years and no one's done
Eric,
anything.
Eric,
So I'm just
so-
saying, I wanna see like an accountability, you mentioned that. When we throw money at the school budget, there's zero accountability. They've rolled over the money year after year. We've had no coordinator hired, and
I just want to give you a little bit of background. So the Vermont Council on Rural Development, there were many days of seminars, and
Right.
one of the 11 things that was talked about, priorities, was the recreation. That was not one of the 3 that were selected in that committee,
I
in that
was there, I
group.
remember that.
However, when the Planning Commission went through the whole Vermont Council on Rural Development program, we picked up in the Planning Commission the idea of expanding recreation in the town. And so you are right to refer to it in that way. We did not talk about the town hiring an employee to be a coordinator in
I
that
realize
town
that.
plan. We were looking more towards a body of residents to take that
Yeah,
forward.
I mean, I'm telling you that's not gonna work. We've been trying that for years. We've been trying that. And so, like, what we're asking for is some sort of real commitment of a part-time person. Somebody who can bring in some of these resources that some of the other commissions are trying to do with the the Planning Commission, the Trails Commission. These guys are saying this is great, it helps us. I mean, I know you're not arguing against the idea of it,
Right.
but how we go about it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to figure out. And like, where to put it is an issue, because the money has been in the budget in the school. They've had over $6,000 in the budget every year. And they haven't been able to hire a coordinator.
Let me ask you a question. You say you have all kinds of support.
Right.
And now, one of those people that support this will do it without getting paid. Is that what you're saying?
We're saying we're gonna have one person that's part-time, and we're gonna have that person organize many volunteers.
Why can't that person be a volunteer?
Because nobody can volunteer 16, 20 hours a week.
Unless you
Nobody
pay them.
has that.
Unless you pay them.
Yeah,
Because
nobody
it's
has
part-time
20
job.
hours a
That's the
week.
point I'm trying to make.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody can volunteer 20 hours a week.
But it-
I mean,
So,
it's a lot of work.
Veranda,
Okay, I just wanted, as a, community member, just stepping back a little bit from the nuts and bolts of the conversation. One of the things that I care deeply about in this town is the next generation, like the young parents, the young people living here and being able to have a good life in Guilford and being represented. And one of my observations of, as somebody who's worked in the schools, is that the families are really under a lot of stress just to make ends meet. And that has a very deep impact on volunteerism and morale and a whole lot of other things. And I feel as if, I don't know what the answer to this particular issue is, but I feel as if, we need to look at how to get together and ensure that in whatever arena that something can happen. And and I just hope, I don't want to give these people the impression that that their ideas that there's no way to make this so. When Donna and I were young, it was cheaper to live here, it really was. And now I just see people really being very hard pressed to be nurturing parents and to make ends meet. And so I'd just like to be part of helping something, move forward.
The suggestion that I had made on Monday night, and I think at the last board meeting, was that although it's all our money coming from the same pot of taxes, that that the town and the school board each kick in a sense, kind of seed money, that fees would be gathered after that, it would help to fund itself, but it would stay. I think it makes sense personally to be under the auspices of the school board, because a big part of it is school related. And there could be additional stuff beyond that, that you bring your article that you've got almost all these votes forward to, so the whole town, not the select board per se, but the town has a chance to say, yes, we want to help create this position. And it's be a hired position, as you said. I don't know how the Board of Oversight or the commission would work. I think that needs to be figured out. But Eric, I guess I resent a little bit because this is coming to us and it's interesting, but it's not like this has been coming to the town for 2 years and it's been blocked. That's an impression that I'm struggling with.
No, okay, I don't mean you guys personally.
Well, we've been here a long time.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so at any rate, my point is just that I agree, Veranda. I feel like I want this town to be as attractive to young families as is possible. I want the school to have an active sports program. I think that's awesome. I think that the town have an active rec program is great too. The rec club used to provide that. I thought it'd be a good vehicle. I'm not trying to be obstructionist. I don't think anybody here is. I'm just thinking the article you've got will do what you're talking about. It'll give you a pot of money to work with.
I know the rec club years ago, when my oldest boy was growing up, they used to be very active.
Mm-hmm.
We had 6 baseball teams.
Steve?
How much are you petitioning in town for in your article?
$4,000.
Okay, so what you do is you've been here twice, you've been to the school board, you've been all the rest of it, the frustration level starts to get higher. That's the worst thing that can happen for you and the whole program, is to have people on this side and that side. I would suggest that what you do is you petition the town for $4,000 and you let people like Danny, like everybody else, like Veranda, others, stand up and say, there was a time back when this was in place.
Right.
And I personally, or we as a group, or we as the Conservation Commission would like to support this idea.
Right.
Let the town talk for you, because I think it's important that nobody feels that you two are the only two and that you're gonna be it. What you're trying to do is say, this is a great idea. You've done that, you've brought it to the group,
Right.
you're back here. I would say petition the town and encourage some of those 85 people who are signing to stand up and support you.
And
in
I think
front
they
of the
will.
whole town.
They will,
And then
yeah.
you've got a mandate, not just there's a big difference between a mandate and a demand. And you wanna make certain that your mandate doesn't turn into a demand.
The only question I have is who would be responsible for policy and procedure as to make sure the monies are going where they should be.
Right.
Would it be the town, would it be a school board?
That's-
How do we choreograph this, because it gets really murky and muddy, and I would be really fearful of going into something that was not very concrete, that we knew where the checks were coming from, we knew where, make sure the receipts were handed in, all the documentation behind the box.
That's why it makes sense for the select board or the town to own it. I mean, and that the accountability. I mean, what happens if you?
I think that Alice is asking for is clear definition,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Well,
what I'm
that's-
asking
yeah,
for.
I agree.
Well,
I'm
asking from
agreeing with you.
What your vision is, and I don't know what.
I'm
support
saying
would
again,
be.
very clearly as I can say it, the town hires a part-time employee. It's as simple as that. You already have a part-time employee, correct? You don't have anyone you pay.
No.
That's not true.
Well,
We have a
yeah,
part-time
but-
employee, but
They're
Okay.
town office
it's
staff.
a town office staff.
So I'm getting confused
So-
again
Who has
because
a, who has a supervisor.
now, I mean,
Yeah.
everything keeps shifting and I can't really figure out what you want. Because before it was you wanted to create a commission,
Now,
and now you're saying you want the town to hire. So I would just like clarity as to what you actually
a
want us
director.
to
We
do.
want a paid director.
like. So you're asking
for a paid director.
you're
That's
asking
it.
the town
To pay a director.
create a part-time position. Now, is this for only?
That would be ideal because the reason why, and I know I hear you frustrated. I don't mean for you to feel frustrated.
I just
but
feel like it's a little bit of a moving target, and it would just be helpful to
it
get
got
some clarity.
murky. It
It's
honestly
evolved
got
over time.
murky.
The
We're
process
just
of
trying to be
meeting
consistent
changes.
with our message,
Yes.
and the reason why is for accountability because we don't want to be at the school next fall and have my daughter looking around for the soccer program. There's no one to say, hey, where's the soccer program? There's money for it, but there's no program.
Okay,
So we're frustrated.
but I think
we
that's really with the school
there's
board.
accountability.
And I think the issue is why you maybe are also having
We've
frustration
mentioned-
is that we can't control the school board's money, but you believe there'd be money there, and so we can't really do anything about that.
You can if you create your own position.
And if
That's
that-
the point.
And would that
so
position then do all of the action items under the town plan?
The point with the commission or a board or a volunteer group would be that they would be part of program development. They're going to try to figure out ways to bring more money in. Because we want the program to be self-sufficient. We don't want the town to have to pay for it if, necessary. That's the ideal situation, but we need some sort of program where we can have some income coming in, adult programs.
And my question is, I guess, if we were to hire the suggested part-time person, would they, when you presented the town plan, said you're gonna do number 6 out of 6.
well,
What about the rest of the 5?
those
Because
are-
if they're town funds.
No, those would all be done.
Those would all be done.
Under I'm saying the director would do all of those things.
All of the 6
I'm
point
saying
action
we're
items.
personally advocating for number 6, us the sports. But what the planning commission is suggesting, and I think we agree, is that this paid position would do these jobs that these commissions are trying to find somebody to do, as a way to consolidate resources. Like, instead of trying to hire little bits here and there, we have a way of having a place where we can communicate. We can send out emails, phone calls, have stuff coming in. We can communicate with other commissions. We can organize jobs, and we have a commission that's developing, or a board, or some group that can develop the programs to hand to this director,
Okay, here.
if
Sorry.
that makes sense.
Sorry, Wendy, I don't think you've spoken, so go ahead and then Ann, you.
Thank you. We did have a meeting with the task force yesterday, and that includes Lisa Ford and Michael Alexander. Lisa had been in contact with Ellen Mam of the Dummerston Rec Board and Molly Stoner of Dummerston. What they had reported is that Dummerston has a volunteer board that is allocated money through a town board. They are not a 501c3, but they do have their purchases, deposits, and tuition through the town select board. So I had written that down.
So that's a
So
model
their
that we
money's
could
in hand.
use, Dummerston.
And what you have on, an explanation of your petition? I'm sorry, Ann,
No, go
you're
ahead.
next.
No, go ahead.
It says this program would consist of a part-time coordinator with initial funding from matching contributions from the school and town budgets. This coordinator would report to a volunteer committee and administer youth athletic programs for ages 5 through 12. The committee would perform research of community needs and develop year-round recreational opportunities for Guilford residents of all ages. So I think that is a pretty clear
That's what we're
statement
trying to.
of where you want to go.
Right.
I think we are not voting on that tonight. I think that is coming before the town.
Right.
And I think you probably shared as much with us.
I guess we're just
Yes.
wanting to know that the petition, I mean, we want you to feel comfortable with it. We've worked on it and we're trying to, really want everyone to come together on this. So I guess we're just kind of wanting to feel like you support this petition that we've put, if it's worded properly.
I think the biggest thing is that your committee is going to have to speak to this at town meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So actually,
I think,
can I just
I think-
interject 1 sec? The committee hasn't even been formed yet, so I
Well,
feel,
no, I'm saying
what I'm
that
trying to
the
say
people
is-
that's brought this petition.
I
task
feel like your
force.
article needs to ask for the creation of a committee. And
That-
so you really need 2 articles, 1, the creation of the committee, and 2, the money.
Why can't they just step into the recreation club and be the recreation club?
who though? I mean, I can't,
Whoever-
I've got a job.
Your
I've been-
committee.
No,
I
no,
mean,
no,
I've been
not,
taking,
So we all have jobs, but if you're part of a recreation club, then, it's
Right.
like a couple nights a week like the rest of us, nights a month like the rest of us have, and then
Right.
you do.
I think
I
we're
get
putting the
that part,
cart
but-
before the horse a little bit. I would
Yeah.
like to go back to Steve's comment. I think we've
Yeah.
taken a lot of time with this, and the fact of the matter is, this needs to come before town meeting, and we need to vote on this, and during that discussion, there would be, I think clarity would be hopefully attained in terms of, if there's the money, first of all. And then, I still think, you ask if I support this, I do. Do I support it under the town? I don't. I support it under the school for the reasons that I outlined. But that would be something that would be discussed at town meeting, I would think, as part of this article.
So is the select board willing to create a recreation committee? Even if it's all volunteer with no funding? Because in order to appropriate money, you need to create the committee.
Yeah, I'm willing to create a
So
recreation
that would be,
committee.
that's
as we
something
have-
that
I
the
mean,
board, I
And-
believe the board can do on its own. I'm pretty sure that you could create a commission.
This
a
would be
recreation
after town
commission.
meeting, after the funds have been allocated, I would think.
But currently, isn't there a recreation committee already? So why
No.
would you need?
there is
No,
a.
the club is
Not
separate.
for the
The club
town.
is
Oh.
The
separate.
club
Okay.
is
The club is a nonprofit.
It's a business,
Okay.
Yeah,
nonprofit
it's an independent
business, so
nonprofit.
you can't force them to do anything. We've invited them. We'd love for them to join in.
Yeah.
You also have to consider that the
You know.
Yeah.
people are sick at this point and they couldn't. come.
Absolutely. And we don't want to rush and pressure them either. I mean, we want them to feel
And I would be
comfortable
apt to
with
say,
the whole thing, so.
If the town were gonna appropriate the money, that we would give it to the school versus the school give it to
That
us.
was,
Because you already, in function, they
Right.
already have an athletic director
Sure.
that they have paid, and they already have that position through the school. Because if you have it through the town, there's a lot more to just creating a position than doing that.
Sure.
There's a whole level of oversight in terms of our reporting, taking in cash, it involves other town office staff. I mean, there's more layers to it.
I
than
appreciate
meets-
that. I
And
know-
with
I
the
assume
school,
so.
that mechanism is already in place. There's already been an
So,
athletic director in
Yes, there has
place.
already been.
I just wonder about accountability though, and it's the one thing.
And I just wonder about the murkiness between it being a outside rep and a school process. I wanna get clarity from the
And I
powers
don't
that
think
be.
that is a discussion for tonight. I
No.
think we're not going
No.
to go there. I think that would have to come about as we work this through, depending on the results in town meeting.
Steve has his hand up.
I would
Sorry,
just say
Steve.
one last thing, that if your article said, we'd like the town to pay $4,000 in matching funds to for the school board, it's because it makes a difference on a one-year basis to seed this position
Right.
and to do the research and development for a one-year period. And then, once your success is there, you can build on it, okay?
Right.
So I would highly suggest that the article read matching funds to match the $4,000 that the school's already put up, and if possible, that the school would then be the distribution point for 1 year to see how good it is, or how legitimate it is, how murky it is, and the rest of it. If it's not good after a year, then there's not enough for it. If it's great, then you're off the ground.
Okay,
But
but you can't change the article
No, but you could amend it from the floor, couldn't you?
Amend it from the floor.
Yeah,
and then-
yeah.
Be amended
They've got
from the
83 signatures, they don't
Yeah,
want
we
to
can't
send
go
them,
back
they,
and
they
get all
want.
those 83
Yeah,
people.
but I think I think you could, I think this is a good discussion, and I think you could amend it, and I think you could, that's why I'm saying even in that town meeting discussion.
Even to make the point that it's matching funds to the school's already budgeted money, there's a big difference
The
between.
school board did a great job,
But
thank you
one organization, like the school board, having put it in,
for putting that
then the
there.
town can match the funds. That's a much better, even if you just stand up and say it, okay? So I would say that's where you are right now.
Thank you both. Thank you both for everything you're doing to try to get
Thank
this to work. We really appreciate it. The next report, the next thing on the agenda is a question of the town report. Currently, the town mails a town report to every household in the community, every voter. And it is an expensive proposition that we feel, some of us feel could be best done by asking people to let us know if they would like the report, printed report, or if they can, or they would be willing to get it online or to come into the office and get it. We get many, many copies returned every year. We're not talking about doing this for this 2016 town meeting, but starting in 2017, and giving people a year to understand that this is happening, figuring out how to disseminate it differently, cutting some costs, and so we'd like to raise that for consideration in this meeting.
What do other towns do?
A lot of other towns are going more electronic, and also people submit, like we would send out a postcard with the town, the taxes, for example, or put something on Facebook, on the Front Porch Forum and in the Gazette, and saying, if you want the town report printed out, give us your name, we'll send it out to you. And if you don't, if you don't ask us for it, but it's legal to do that.
We'd have to print the same amount whether we send them out or not.
No, you probably would print about a quarter or a half of what we print now.
Because legally, if we put it in the paper, there's the town warning, correct?
We've met our obligation.
We've met our
yeah.
obligations.
I understand that.
The article.
I mean, and it's not that I'm trying to say not give out the town report, but there's people out there that will read it on computer more than they will by the book.
But my question is, are we heading in a direction that we do away with all traditions in the town?
No.
I don't think I think
No,
one
we're
thing
not
that's
doing
been
away with
very clear is that we do not want to do away with the printed town report.
Right.
I think everybody values, mine's in my bag every time I come to a meeting, yours is too. I don't think anybody wants to. I think what they're talking about is cutting printing costs
And waste.
by, and the waste, the printing costs, the mailing waste by, I know a number of people who walk into town meeting, lean over, they grab a town report, they open it up, they look at it, and that's the first time they're seeing it. They don't look at the one that they get at their home. They don't study it the way they used to in the old days. But I think that nobody would ever, I can't imagine, endorse the idea of going to just an electronic report. That would be really not good.
No, I'm
That's
trying
not the question.
I'm a 10%er. And whatever we do, 10% of the people in town aren't gonna get it. That's,
I think we know that because of the returns,
Yeah.
for one thing.
I'm just wondering if we've discussed this the last 3 or 4 years, so it's not new.
We get about 100 town reports come back undelivered.
And that's the
And
10%.
how many do we send out? 1,600?
Maybe 1,200. And I mean, a lot of them probably end up in recycle bins.
Yeah.
I think if you put on the website, on the Front Porch Forum, at the Gazette, if you'd like a printed town report sent to your house, sign up for it. But I also think that, you can get them at town meeting. Nobody wants to do away with them. But
Yeah, that is not the question. Danny,
Why
sorry.
can't you just, when you send your tax bills out, put
Yeah,
stuff
but
like
yeah,
Hey,
That's
would you
part
like
of
a
the-
town report?
we can use the town report this year to
Just make-
sort of start the conversation and put something in there and create a one fixed vehicle for, you can call and ask, click on the website and ask, and we can use the town report, we can use Front Porch Forum, we can put an insert in tax bills, we could even do a special mailing if we wanted to.
When we put
There's
it in
lots
the
of
paper,
ways.
we can
Yeah,
say.
put it in the Gazette.
Yeah, trying to figure a timeline whether, if I did
So it's
want
a
one
year
to be
away.
there,
Yeah, so people would have 1 year.
But if you're asking into October, sending a little notation, say, please check here if you'd like.
But
it,
that
please
would have
send
been
your-
the 5th, perhaps, like, there could be 2 Gazette articles before
Yeah.
that everybody gets
Oh,
the
yeah.
Gazette. Like,
I'm
there's,
saying from like
Yeah.
October when tax bills come out,
Yep.
it's a perfect opportunity to hit everyone.
Yep.
And also be able to just say, make that call and say, yeah, I want mine this year, and
Yep.
it automatically gets sent, and make sure the addresses are correct. Obviously, if they're getting their tax bill there, it should be correct.
do we have many requests from non-residents, second homeowners for town reports?
they're not voters anyway.
They're not voters, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think in a way they're,
They get one.
Tradition,
They'll
yeah.
get one mailed to their non-residential
Yeah.
address.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't in this, if we went to this, they would get one if they requested one.
Correct.
Yeah.
that's what I'm.
But we're
yeah.
not obligated to give them one by law anyway,
Yeah.
so they could request one.
Sorry, Ian, Steve first, then you.
Will the 2016 report be available online?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It always is.
So if you make a point that the 2016 as others is available online, and make a big deal of it to the point where people say, okay, let's see how easy that is to use. Once they get used to it, then it's not a big mystery, because it just seems like you're not getting something if you don't know how to use it the other way. But then if you're looking for a burn permit, you can just go online.
I want to say it was on the homepage under announcements until town meeting day last year.
I would make
Get
it
the
somehow
time.
very obvious to
It
people.
was. So you'd click right there on, you didn't have to actually go find it, it was right on the
So whatever it is,
homepage.
I
Yeah.
think that's the thing.
Yeah, and I think the point is that we would not decide to do this without a very active campaign to let everybody know that this is what's happening. Ian?
Hi, Ian Keel, BCTV.
Wait a minute, is it?
A week ago Monday, I videotaped Vernon, and you could go to their meeting. I think they just voted to do, they don't even have a town website, did you know that?
I do.
So apparently their method will be you
Pick up
could
at the town office.
have the town clerk email you the town report as a PDF. You can pick it up physically at the office, and I think if you call the town clerk, they'll mail you a copy.
Upon request.
But I think they just voted in the affirmative to stop doing their bulk mailing.
And I know there are other towns that do that
So I just-
throughout the state.
It was
yeah.
literally last week, and that's why I bring it to your attention.
Who allowed the guy from Brattleboro to talk? Don't we have to have
So-
7 votes?
Are we ready for a motion on this to,
Do we need a motion on this? It's part of our budgeting. I didn't know if we needed
We
specific.
don't need to.
I don't think so.
I think the reason why it would be good to have a motion is this would be your first public statement for anybody who read the minutes to know that they're not gonna be mailed anymore. So it's the launch of the public campaign.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
I'll entertain
We
a
needed one,
motion.
but-
I'll make a motion that we, as of 2017, cease our townwide bulk mailing of the town report. I'll just say that for now.
Thank you, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I didn't want to make, Gabby, but I think our discussion that will be in the minutes that showed all the other ways that it will be available, so it's clear we're not, that I didn't want to make the motion 3 paragraphs long, but, yeah, okay.
Sorry, is there a, all in favor? So, any opposed, that was what I was asking. Okay, thank you. Are we ready to talk about policy creation?
Could be.
Or, because I don't remember preparing anything for this,
Which
the submitting things on time.
no, I don't know if you wanna,
Can we table that tonight?
you could table it or you could authorize me to begin gathering information about creating a policy.
Let's table it. I don't even know what it's about.
Yeah.
We've been here a long time.
I
Yes.
mean, I could share a little if you want, to just quickly.
Go right ahead.
There has been inconsistency in the submission of timesheets for some town officials, appointed and elected. A policy on this would help to correct this problem so that the time worked can be financially reported in the proper period and year. So if somebody wanted to move a policy being drafted for time tracking, that would be
Let's
Okay.
table it, or
Yeah.
we, I
let's
mean, we
table
could
it.
move it, but let's
Yeah,
just, let's table it just for.
Yeah, I feel like we're not
Fried.
prepared to talk about that.
Um,
Green River,
Didn't Dick have a public comment?
that's,
Yeah,
Is that,
Yeah.
where's that go?
I would assume it would,
Is that
Is that
for this
under new
agenda
business?
or future agendas?
no, I think
This
that,
agenda.
this agenda, but so let's wait, well, let's go ahead with Green River and,
Did we send out
oh,
the
it's new business,
RFPs
I
for
see
the
what you're
bridge?
saying.
Yes, I was just gonna share.
yes.
Really not.
Diggity
That's
dug!
That's part of my update, is
Look at
that,
that.
the RFP for construction for the Green River Covered Bridge went out on January 6th. It's on the homepage of the website. The RFP for construction inspection services, which is a resident engineer, and it's required as a part of our transportation alternative funding. Any project over $250,000 is required to have a resident engineer hired to independently inspect the work as done by the design engineer. So the RFP for that went out today. That is also on the town's website. Both proposals are due back February 8th with, I think, the intent of both bids coming in and being opened during the select board meeting on the 8th.
Did the committee get formed?
I think the committee was formed in the last
It was
Right,
select
it is
board
formed.
meeting. And Ron, I think, was,
Ron, Michael Knapp, Addison, Gabby, and me. Advisory is Danny, Katie, and
Yeah.
Matt Mann.
So everybody agreed and it's in place, good.
any other?
The Jersey barriers stay there now until the work gets done, right?
Yeah, until the guardrails go in.
Dick, you had a new item under new business. You were public comment to become a portion of the agenda.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily mean it for tonight, but I mean,
No.
it'll be something that should be added in the future, I think, yeah.
so we can table it and put it on a different agenda?
Yeah, I'll just put it on the agenda for the
Have it
next
as a
meeting.
regular
Add it
agenda
as an
item, right?
agenda
Yeah,
item.
Okay.
Yeah.
A regular agenda.
item, yeah.
Are you under new business?
We are in new business, yes. We're at the end of new business, into discussion and updates.
Well, I'm not sure whether this is new business or not, but back in October, I was concerned about the hiring process for the town administrator, and I asked Sheila what her process was and why she did not put this out to bid. That's my first question. My second question would be your comment about when I asked you what your process was, you stated that you had talked to a few people. If this is the new protocol for hiring, then we're in trouble. Because that's like handpicking who you want to be on a committee or in an office or whatever. You did not give the public a chance, and there have been some comments about that to us to address the fact that there was going to be an opening and that you were looking for people, but you really weren't looking for people if you're talking to just a few. And so I would like to also ask why when Ron was here filling that position, if he was offered that position or not. I do not believe he was one of the few that you talked to. So that would be
Those
another
are
question.
3 questions.
There's quite a few, but
Okay, so it's gonna be kind of hard to remember them all in sequence.
it'll be fine. Firstly, I asked you about salary and would it be in keeping with the salary that Becky was getting or would be getting, and you said yes, it would save us money. And we know that with your proposed budget, that is not the case. And if you're looking to save money or to pay Ron to continue to be in the position he's been in, then there's some money right there. I'm very concerned also about paying for a cell phone for a person who should be working in the office and doesn't need a cell phone. The only person we should be paying, the town should be paying a cell phone for, is the road commissioner. No one else is out and about and needs that kind of communication.
Point of order.
Point
of order. I'm sorry. Many of the questions that you're raising here, Kathy, are personnel related, and if we were to discuss them, it would only make sense to discuss in executive session.
They were discussed with me in an open meeting,
And what I'm responding to is the fact that I did not get an appropriate answer to those questions, and I am not the only one concerned about this.
Kathy, I don't want to get into a whole discussion here because this is not on the agenda, this is not a warrant item, and it would be, many of your questions would be answered in executive session. I don't know if you've listed about 7 questions so far, and you said you had several more, and I'm wondering if you are expecting us at this point to go through each one of these and discuss them tonight.
No,
And
I
if
think
so-
what I'm looking for is a way to say, for you to really look at the way you're spending money. We've had discussions here about how people are struggling to pay.
Can I answer just one of your questions, because it's not related to a specific individual? I was chair at the time when Becky resigned, and I called Vermont League of Cities and Towns and asked them about search process. They said, you are required to do no search process whatsoever. I said, we had Ron in place at that point and a few other places. I said, so, because we just wanted to take some time to breathe because it was a relatively quick turnaround. They said there is no requirement that you do a broad search. Within 10 months, we had done a relatively broad search. And anyway, and it would be costly to do that. But
If that were obvious, then there would have been resumes coming into this office. It would have been in the newspaper, on the radio, that you were looking for somebody for this position. It was not.
So
I'm just saying, I don't think this whole discussion, I wanted to give you that framework, that information, but I'm frankly both Troy and I are kind of sick and kind of exhausted, and the idea of unpacking your questions at this point.
Then I'll sum it all up by saying that if you put that salary in perspective,
we did.
along with Becky's, the way Becky's
We
might
can't-
have been for
you know
the
what,
coming
this is-
year without the cell phone.
We can't
you
talk
could
about
find-
this.
Becky's
We
stuff.
cannot
We cannot
talk
talk about a past employee.
Yeah, that is
You're
really.
opening a can of worms for this town.
Yeah.
Kathy, thank you. I think that we understand the concern. I think we're looking into many of the budget issues very carefully, but we cannot talk personnel or contractual matters in the public meeting, and we don't want to even start treading in that area. So we have acted, we have our decisions, and basically we are doing what we should be doing right now. So thank you for sharing your concerns. Danny, I think you're up.
Hi. Any questions? Been a pretty mild winter so far. I mean,
Did
winter
you?
ice storm. And
I'm wondering
a little bit of
about
snow.
the results of all that rain on the roads.
Get wet.
No
Everything
wash
was
up.
fine.
Okay, great.
The only thing we had is a big tree down last night, and we did some sanding yesterday, but it was spotty, then black ice this morning, but, our new truck will be ready in another couple of weeks.
We were wondering about that
Yeah.
earlier.
It's, probably, I'm hoping by the end of this week, it should be going to paint. And then probably be another week, but we'll see it, so.
I called the guy and told him to put pink polka dots on it, just because that one's gonna do it.
And as far as material wise this winter, I've ordered my first load of salt last week and got it last Thursday. I mean, we haven't really used much material, so. But you never know, you don't know what could happen from now until springtime, so.
May.
We can.
So, thank you. Are we ready to do the warrants?
Come on.
Uh,
I make the motion to pay the following warrants. Payroll for the week ending in January 3rd, 2016, in the amount of $5,404.91. Payroll for the week ending in January 10th, 2016, in the amount of $5,156.58. Expense warrant number 1613, in the amount of $7,142.12. Expense warrant 13A in the amount of $250.73. And expense warrant 13DP in the amount of $156 for a grand total of $18,110.34.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Right.
Thank you.
And just to let people know some of the things, most of it on here is diesel, number 2 fuel, inspections of the buildings for the code 3 for the yearly fire extinguishers and stuff like that. Some trash removal, some cemetery maintenance and stuff like that. What, as Katie stated, it's just now coming in. So that's about what it is.
We received a letter from the state of Vermont Financial Operations. Do you want me to read it to you guys? Or just blaze through it? Okay.
Please.
We got a small FEMA payment in the amount of $239.57 for outstanding large projects. Yeah, I
I
don't,
thought we were supposed to get like $40,000.
and maybe we will, I don't know, have we gotten any other money yet, or?
No, we.
Danny, have we gotten any FEMA money in? We haven't got no FEMA money in, have we?
No, I haven't heard anything on the final
Because we
audit.
had that meeting where they were
Yeah, well, we haven't
doing the
heard,
final audit and then,
we haven't heard nothing on it yet.
Okay,
so that must not be related.
maybe it's just a trickle in of a percentage, I don't know, I'll look further. We have a cover letter and supporting documentations from Sovereign Solar regarding the project that Dan Ingold actually mentioned on Kirchhammer Drive. So if anybody wants to review that, there's a pretty big package here. I didn't make copies for everybody. It's pretty substantial, but if somebody wants to look, certainly I have it. We received a thank you card from the members of BDCC who had come to the meeting to talk to the board, thanking the board for their time. And that is it.
So the warrant cover is elsewhere, and they're okay. Okay, great, thanks.
Should be
Yeah, I signed it.
13,
Just want to be sure.
16, 13, 13,
Oh, and I did miss one thing, I'm sorry. There's a Vermont League of Cities and Towns news for January 2016 that came in.
You don't?
Studying to be a doctor.
We don't have an executive session tonight?
No.
Unless somebody needs one.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is adjourned at 7:50.